The Los Angeles heat clung to everything like static, but inside Tallulah Willis's apartment, there was only silence. A sterile, heavy silence broken only by the relentless vibration of her phone. She had turned off notifications, deleted apps, and even left her phone face down on the kitchen counter, but somehow the comments still echoed in her mind. Each one, a dagger, a snide whisper, a scream in a digital void where everyone was watching and no one cared. Her name was trending again, but not for her art. Not for the collection she had poured herself into over the past 6 months. Not even for her advocacy around mental health, something she had shared vulnerably, hoping it might help others. No, this time, it was her body. Her tabloid had posted a photo of her walking her dog, coffee in hand, barefaced, wearing oversized sweatpants and a hoodie that belonged to her father. The caption had been cruel. The comments beneath it, even worse. Why does she look like that? Nepotism babies always think they're special. She's just fishing for sympathy again. Tallulah stared at the wall. She felt hollow. Not angry, at least not yet, just tired. Tired in her bones, in her heart. She had worked so hard to love the mirror, to silence the echoes of disordered eating and teenage shame, but today, all of that strength felt paper thin. Her dog, Beans, jumped onto her lap, tail thumping. She managed a small smile, scratching behind his ears. "It's okay," she whispered, more to herself than him. "We've been here before. If you're drawn to real stories of resilience, vulnerability, and unconditional love, make sure to hit that subscribe button. There's more to this journey than headlines and hashtags." She moved to the couch, pulled her knees to her chest, and opened her phone again. A mistake. But the impulse was stronger than her resolve. She scrolled through the storm. Her Instagram was flooded with hateful DMs, strangers who claimed to be followers, but only seemed interested in tearing her apart. She didn't cry. Not yet. The tears would come later. For now, she just kept reading, like poking a bruise. In the scrolling haze, she saw a comment that stung more than the rest. Even with famous parents, she's still just nothing. And suddenly she wasn't 30 years old in her own apartment with her own career. She was 15 again, backstage at some event, overhearing whispers about how she wasn't as pretty as her sisters, how she had Bruce's face, how she would never make it on her own. That voice, the old one, returned in full force. The one she had fought so hard to silence in therapy and group sessions and long aching journal entries. It said, "They're right. You don't belong. You'll never be enough." Tallulah got up, hands shaking, and paced. Her chest felt tight, her breath shallow. She had promised herself she'd never let online strangers dictate her worth again, but promises don't always hold in the heat of shame. And then her phone lit up again, but this time it wasn't hate, it was her mum. "Demi, I saw it. I'm coming over." Just 2 lines, but they broke the dam. The tears came then, full and fierce, and she let them, because sometimes even grown daughters need to be held. Sometimes when the world forgets your humanity, a mother's presence is the only truth that matters. The knock at the door was soft but certain. Tallulah wiped her face with her sleeve and opened it. Demi stepped inside without a word, her expression unreadable, but her arms wide open. Tallulah collapsed into them. "I didn't want you to see it," she whispered. "I needed to," Demi said quietly, "because you shouldn't be alone right now." They sat together on the couch, Beans nestled between them. Demi rubbed small circles into her daughter's back. The room held a heavy quiet, but it wasn't the suffocating kind. It was the kind that allows pain to breathe. Tallulah pulled back. "I thought I could handle it," she said. "I really did. But it's like every time I feel okay, something like this happens and I'm back in the same hole." Demi's eyes were full of a sorrow only a mother can carry. "It's not the same hole, baby. You're stronger now. You climbed out before. You'll do it again." Before Tallulah could respond, another knock, this one more abrupt. "Jasper," she murmured, standing. Her best friend stepped in, holding 2 bags of groceries and an icy look in his eye. He saw Demi and nodded respectfully. "I brought snacks and almond milk." And dark chocolate because I knew you wouldn't have eaten. Tallulah gave him a half-hearted smile. You're ridiculous. And you're beautiful. And the internet can go straight to hell. He dropped the bags and sat cross-legged on the floor. His tone softened. I read it all. I shouldn't have, but I did. Tallulah's shoulders dropped. Why are they like this? Jasper looked up at her, voice low. Because people hate what they don't understand. You're honest. You don't hide the ugly. That terrifies them. She let the words hang there. I shared my truth, she said. I wanted people to feel less alone. But it's like, the more I open up, the more they twist it. Demi reached for her hand. There's nothing wrong with being vulnerable, but you don't owe anyone your pain. Jasper nodded. Exactly. They don't get access to your healing unless they've earned it. Tallulah leaned back, sighing. Her head throbbed. Her heart felt raw. I just don't know what to do next. I don't want to post anything. I don't want to disappear either. I just want to be seen for who I am. Demi was quiet for a moment. Then she said, maybe this isn't something you should carry alone. Maybe it's time we spoke together. Not as celebrities, as your family. Tallulah blinked. What do you mean? I mean, Demi said, her voice steady. Maybe it's time the world remembered that behind the headlines and the filters, you are someone's daughter, someone's soul, and we won't let them tear you apart without a fight. Tallulah swallowed the lump in her throat. You'd really do that? I already am, Demi said, and you know your dad. If he were sitting here, he'd say it louder than all of us. He's still here, Tallulah whispered, even if it's different now. Jasper leaned in. Then let's give them something they can't ignore, not drama, not damage, just truth. The words settled like an anchor. Maybe this time they wouldn't fight back with rage. Maybe they'd fight with something much harder to dismiss, unapologetic, unwavering love. The letter began on a notepad, torn pages, scribbled margins, crossed out words. It wasn't a press release, and it wasn't meant to be perfect. It was Tallulah, Demi, and Bruce, raw, unfiltered, searching for words that would not just defend, but reveal. Tallulah sat between her parents, reading drafts aloud. It has to come from all of us, she said, not just about me. Bruce, slower to speak these days, watched with soft, intent eyes. His hand rested on the table, fingers twitching faintly. Demi handed him the pen, and he nodded once, pressing it to the page. His handwriting was shaky, but his meaning was clear. A single sentence in his uneven script. She is light. She is mine. Tallulah wiped her eyes. Demi reached over, placing her hand over Bruce's. This is the heart of it, she said. Let's build from here. For hours, they wrote, paragraphs shaped by shared memories, the years they'd spent behind the scenes, navigating pain and public pressure. Tallulah spoke about the slow healing, the therapy sessions, the relapse scares, the strength it took to get back up. Demi added her voice, not as an actress, but as a mother who had seen her child nearly vanish inside a war of self-loathing. Bruce, more silent than ever, stayed present. When he couldn't find words, he simply held Tallulah's hand. The tremor in his touch said everything. By nightfall, the letter was done. They posted it the next morning. No tags, no filters. Just a single black and white image of the three of them, taken years ago in the backyard. Tallulah laughing in Bruce's arms. The caption was the letter. They wrote about the cost of vulnerability, about how healing isn't linear and fame doesn't grant immunity from cruelty. They called out the trend of public shaming masked as opinion. They asked a simple question. What does it cost you to choose kindness instead? Within an hour, it was viral. The comments were no longer attacks. They were confessions, apologies, memories. Strangers shared their own struggles, their regrets for judging too quickly. Friends posted in solidarity. Celebrities echoed the message. Let Tallulah Be started trending, then Family First, then Simply Enough. Still, not everyone was moved. A new wave surfaced, troll wave. Anonymous accounts, emboldened by backlash, now accused the family of playing the sympathy card. They reposted the letter with captions like Cry Me a River and Celebrity Damage Control 101. Tallulah saw it. Her chest tightened again. But this time the spiral didn't come. Instead, she took a breath. "They want to spin it," she said to Jasper over the phone. "But this isn't for them. It never was." Jasper's voice came steady through the speaker. "Then don't let them steal it. You wrote something true. They can't unwrite that." Demi sent her a text later that evening, just one line. "You were brave today. So proud of you." Bruce followed with a voice memo, soft, halting words pieced together with effort. "They don't know you, but I do, and you're brave." Tallulah listened 3 times, hand over her heart. The storm wasn't over, but for the first time in days, she felt the ground beneath her again. They hadn't just posted a letter, they had planted a seed, and now something real was beginning to grow. The invitation came unexpectedly, from a podcast known for honest, unfiltered conversations about mental health. They asked if Tallulah would join them for an episode. No pressure, no PR framing, just her story, if she felt ready. She sat with it for a day, then said yes. The studio was quiet, intimate, no bright lights. Just 2 microphones, a producer with kind eyes and a cup of tea steeping nearby. Jasper was there but didn't speak. He only nodded as she adjusted the headphones. Tallulah took a deep breath as the host welcomed her. Then she spoke. "My name is Tallulah Willis. I'm an artist. I'm someone's daughter. I'm also someone who spent years hating the mirror." Her voice trembled but didn't break. She talked about growing up in the shadow of fame, how it felt to be measured by tabloid captions and paparazzi lenses. She spoke of body dysmorphia, the isolation of mental illness, and the way kindness often came too late. "I used to think pain made me special," she said. "But really, what makes any of us human is how we carry it, and what we do with it when it's too heavy." She paused, looked at the host. "I wanted to disappear once, not because I didn't love anyone, but because I forgot how to love myself." There was silence after that, not awkward, just full. Later in the episode, the host asked about her family. Tallulah smiled. "My mom is fierce. She walks into a room and you feel safer. My dad, he's quieter now, but he's still all heart. When I was at my lowest, they didn't try to fix me. They just stayed." The host nodded. "That's real love." "It is," she agreed, "and I needed it more than I realized." As the episode wrapped, the producer handed her a phone. "Check the comments when you're ready," he said gently. "But only when you're ready." She waited until she got home. Then she read. Hundreds of messages, survivors, strangers, sons, daughters, people who had never known her name now thanking her for giving their feelings a voice. Jasper leaned over her shoulder. "That's impact," he whispered. That night, Bruce surprised them. He didn't speak much anymore, but he had insisted on coming. Demi wheeled him into the living room and Tallulah knelt beside him. "I did it," she told him. "I told the truth." "How truth?" He reached for her hand, slow and deliberate. His fingers curled around hers, weak but steady. Then, with effort, he whispered, "Proud." She blinked fast, holding back tears. "You heard it?" He nodded once, then, with a small smile, "Strong." The word echoed louder than anything else that day. In the following days, Demi wrote an op-ed. It wasn't defensive. It was a call to responsibility, from media to followers to the very platforms that profit off harm. She demanded humanity over clicks, empathy over algorithms. The piece went viral, but this time the narrative didn't splinter. It crystallized. Parents reached out, teachers, therapists. They printed the article, shared it in classrooms, quoted it in clinics. Something was shifting. Tallulah, watching it all unfold, didn't feel triumphant. She felt grounded. She wasn't a symbol, not a victim, not a brand, just someone who had bled in public and somehow helped others feel less alone. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was the beginning of everything else. A month passed. The hate didn't vanish, but it softened, lost its edge. The flood of attacks became a trickle, then a murmur, then background noise. Tallulah had stopped checking her name in search bars. She had stopped waiting for the next blow. Instead, she painted. The exhibit was called See Me Whole. It opened in a modest gallery in Silver Lake, small but warm, with tall white walls and golden light pouring in from high windows. Each piece was personal, stitched from memory and emotion, a map of pain transfigured into something defiant and beautiful. The room filled quickly. Friends came, artists, strangers who had followed her journey and felt it mirrored something inside their own lives. But the moment that silenced everything was when Bruce arrived. Demi guided his wheelchair slowly through the front entrance. He wore a charcoal suit neatly pressed and a gentle smile that deepened the lines around his eyes. When he looked at Tallulah's work, he didn't speak, but his eyes did. They shimmered. Tallulah approached him. "You made it." Bruce nodded, blinking slowly. Then, with quiet determination, he lifted her hand to his lips and kissed her knuckles. Demi, standing nearby, touched her daughter's shoulder. "You turned it into something real," she said, "something that will outlast all of this." They stood together, watching the crowd weave through the space. One girl, no older than 20, stood crying in front of a canvas titled "Weightless." It showed a figure falling through water, tethered to a ribbon made of handwritten words. The girl noticed Tallulah and wiped her eyes. "Thank you," she said simply, "for saying what I never could." Tallulah nodded. "You're not alone." The final piece of the night was a canvas set apart from the others, placed at the end of the gallery. It was stark, just layers of white and soft grey, with a note pinned beside it. The handwriting was familiar, her own. It read, "You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to stay." People paused. Some took photos. Others just stared, letting the words settle deep into whatever part of them had been told the opposite. As the evening wound down, Jasper found her near the back. He handed her a sparkling water and bumped her shoulder lightly. "You did good." "I was terrified," she admitted. "Means it mattered," he replied. Later that night, as she gathered her things, Tallulah looked around the empty gallery. The silence didn't feel hollow anymore. It felt earned. Her phone buzzed. A message from a stranger. "Your words saved me." She put it down without responding. Not because she didn't care, but because she didn't need to prove anything anymore. She walked to Bruce, who had fallen half asleep in his chair, and gently took his hand. "We're okay now," she said softly. "We really are." Outside, the city pulsed on. Life didn't pause. The world didn't stop spinning. But something inside her had finally shifted. She didn't need to explain herself to the internet. She had spoken. She had survived. And she had turned pain into presence. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe for more real-life narratives that honor truth and transformation. Your support helps us bring light to voices that deserve to be heard. And if you're ready to keep going, click the next video on your screen. We've got another powerful journey waiting for you there.